Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the DeKalb Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for this Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. Could I start with a roll call, please?
Here.
O'Flaherty. Here. Kenya Grant. Here. Bellabong. Wright.
Here.
McMahon.
Here.
Chair Maxwell.
Here.
Quorum present.
Thank you. We'll move to the approval of the agenda. If there are any additions or deletions, if not, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
So moved by Wright. May I have a second?
I second.
Second by O'Flaherty. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. This is the moving to the approval of the minutes from August 4th, 2025. Again, if there are any additions or deletions, if not, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
So moved by Becker. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by McMahon. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. This is the public participation portion. If there's anyone that is here to speak to something that is not on the agenda tonight, you could submit a form. If not, we will move on to our first order of new business. We have a public hearing, a petition by, I'm going to butcher this, Donata Solar, for approval of the rezoning upon annexation to the PD-1 Planned Development Industrial District for the property located approximately 30 acres along the west side of Peace Road between Greenwood Acres Drive and Challenger Drive for construction of a 4-megawatt ground-mounted solar energy system solar field and two 6,000 square foot data center buildings. We have a presentation.
Hi everyone, my name is Peyton Childress. I'm here on behalf of Donato Solar regarding our proposed 4-megawatt ground-mounted behind-the-meter solar array. Dan is probably going to click through the PowerPoint. I'm just going to read off of what I prepared for you. It's a project overview and highlights some of the key details. I don't typically read off of anything when I come to city councils, but because there's been a lot of questions and comments and things like that raised, I want to make sure I highlight and hit all of those key details. So, like I mentioned, this is a 4-megawatt solar array. It's located at 1199 North Peace Road here in DeKalb, Illinois. The project is designed as an accessory use to the two 6,000 square foot data centers that will be planned off of Challenger Drive. As for the project overview, the size and location, this is a 30-acre parcel. The property is owned, it is not leased by Mr. Donato. The annexation and rezoning are required because the parcel currently lies outside the city of DeKalb. The solar array design itself, the panels stand approximately 8.5 feet tall. The solar panels are at a fixed tilt, so they do not move. They will always stay at that fixed tilt day in and day out, so they will never exceed that 8.5 feet tall height. There has been a glare analysis done that shows no impact to surrounding properties. A noise analysis from a comparable site demonstrates no noise pollution from operating equipment. It's a comparable site as in the 4 megawatts residential properties within the same sort of 300-foot distance. So it's very comparable, and that's in Champaign County. That's where that site is located. The solar array itself will be fully fenced in per the electrical code. The fencing that we typically build typically stands 6 foot in height. Grass outside the site will be maintained and mowed by a landscaping crew. Inside of the array, we plant pollinator and native grasses, so habitat-friendly grasses that will be maintained and manicured as needed. It typically takes maybe around 2 years for these to become established, so just maintain as needed. As for the battery energy storage systems, or the BESS, there will be 2 battery system units located on site. These batteries have built-in air cooling systems as well as heating systems. The city has requested access drives, or at least mentioned drives to these units themselves, which we are willing to do. These drives would be gravel, and they would only be used for limited access or maintenance needed to the battery systems themselves. We don't typically access the battery systems daily only if maintenance is needed or something inside the system itself is needing repaired. So we wouldn't be utilizing those drives daily, I would say. As for the data center itself, these are two proposed 6,000 square foot buildings on site. They are air-cooled by fans. They are not water-cooled, so this reduces the water demand on site. Each data center is going to be connected to the city water system via a service line with individual meters to the data centers. The anticipated water use to the data centers themselves is very minimal, 75 to 100 gallons a day per building is roughly what it was looking like, limited to restrooms and sink usage, mainly. As for community considerations, the existing tree line on the west side of that, if you can see it on there, which it separates the array and that residential property, that tree line will remain in place. We have no intentions of touching any of that vegetation. The nearest home is in Summit Enclave, which is nearly 300 feet from the closest array. We understand that there are also concerns about long-term safety of the arrays and the battery systems themselves. There have been studies from the EPA, independent studies also done, that show that these types of solar panels and battery systems are stable. They're also encapsulated, and they do not leach these harmful chemicals into the soil or a water supply, especially under normal operation or even if they have been damaged. These solar panels have a lifetime warranty of 15 to 30 years. They're also designed to withstand decades of outdoor exposure. So we're committed to following proper recycling and decommissioning of the solar panels. We've had solar panels damaged by straight line winds in Champaign County. We've decommissioned that solar panel, we've removed it, we installed a new panel, all was good. As for economic and workforce benefits, local crews will be hired for construction and ongoing maintenance of the solar array and data center. The project will pay prevailing wage. Commitment to supporting workforce development through a 4-year free electrician apprenticeship program. I currently teach one of those courses. I will say it's a great program that's offered. You don't have to join a union. You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to have anything. High school diploma. You simply are in the program because you work for us. So, and you become an electrician at the end of that degree, or that program, so. And it's also potential for 1 to 2 long-term jobs associated with the data centers themselves. As for the solar arrays, we manage everything from a computer. We can see the power it's putting out or not generating, things like that. Landscaping crews, we could hire somebody locally for that as well. As for decommissioning and site reclamation, a draft decommissioning plan has been submitted and prepared. An engineer's cost estimate will be incorporated into the final plan to ensure proper financial assurance, whether it be letter of credit or surety bond, for full removal and site restoration at the end of the project's life. So that's what I have as the project overview, highlighting some of the key details. If anybody has any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Okay, thank you. We have a staff report.
Yes, Peyton went through very thoroughly the request. Again, it's an annexation proposal, about 30 acres. West side of Peace Road between Challenger Drive and Greenwood Acres Drive, the site. Boundaries shown in red here, along with this parcel here, which contains an existing tree line. Proposing to annex, rezone to Planned Development Industrial District. Our comp plan from 2022 calls for industrial on the site. Peyton went through the background of the company, their other sites. The commission looked at a concept plan in January of this year, a very similar layout to what's proposed now. 4 megawatt system, solar field with 2 data center buildings, 6,000 square feet. No official action took place in the concept plan, but the commission gave direction to proceed forward to the annexation and rezoning process, which they've done. We did have a few residents in the Summit Enclave development to the west here speak at that concept plan level. They noted the noise levels, question about the cooling system, battery fire suppression, and land preservation. Questions, comments by the commission related to decommissioning plan, the battery storage areas, the height of the solar arrays, what type of landscape screening will be proposed. The copy of those minutes and the plan at that time are in your background materials. As noted, there'll be two 6,000 square foot data center buildings. Access will be off Challenger Drive, a little paved access to the two buildings here. The battery systems will be located here, right next to it. Solar arrays will be about, as mentioned, 8.5 feet tall. The UDO has a 15-foot IMAX, so they'll be well underneath that. Very little foot traffic, vehicle traffic out here that's monitored remotely, as Peyton mentioned. And we do have some setbacks in the UDO, 50 feet from any solar panel to the property line, and then 100 feet to any residential, and they meet that pretty easily along Peace Road, Greenwood Acres Drive, and then, as mentioned, about 265 feet from the nearest edge of the townhome in Summit Enclave to the solar array. Again, this 80-foot wide existing tree line will not be touched. There's it is. The view of it from Greenwood Acres Drive. This is from Cambria Drive looking towards the site. You can see the existing trees here. Same thing. That's from Peace Road looking west. You can see the tree line in the back. This is a plan overlaid on an aerial photo to kind of give an idea where the townhomes are and where the array field will be in the data center, and a smaller detention pond here for stormwater. So they meet all the UDO requirements. We did require, since the site is along a busy roadway, Peace Road, we did this in the Route 38 solar farm last year where we had additional landscaping along Peace Road, which they did add in the landscape plan. They took pretty much what was required over here, and they added along Peace Road to give a little more screening. As mentioned, the access be off Challenger Drive. They will have water, sanitary sewer. They'll have restrooms in the two data center. Again, not water-cooled, traditional AC cooling of the buildings, no water cooling. 6-foot high chain link fence around the perimeter of the subject site, and the decommissioning plan was submitted and reviewed, and this they need a cost estimate, and there's a few final things before they can start construction. But that decommissioning plan is per the UDO ordinance standards. So findings of fact for rezoning, we think it meets the findings. We call for industrial in our comp plan for the property. It's a solar farm. The Donato Solar will own it, but as noted in the other solar farms, there's one, of course, on city-owned property near the airport on Pleasant Street that Sunvest Solar's building. These types of uses can be easily turned back into agricultural uses in the future, or certainly to industrial. So we did have a 48-acre solar farm down at Gerler Road near Peace Road, approved a few years ago by the commission. After that was constructed, there was a Jason Truck Sales, Infinity Truck Sales, very nice operation, was built right next to it. So there's no negative effect on any surrounding land uses and development of that also. And in addition, the Pleasant Street Solar Farm, which should be completed by end of this year, is on city-owned property and leased to Sunvest Solar. So we think it meets the requirements. There's plenty of screening from the residential areas. We did receive some public input. I'll go through those. We made copies for you. All these came over the weekend, or were actually mailed in today. From Thomas and Sandy Stitch, STICH, of 1472 Cambria Drive, Unit 4. Noted they do not support the request. They mentioned it's not a good location for the project and don't want to live adjacent to a solar farm. Also received a public response form from Susan Keay, K-E-A-Y, 1472 Cambria Drive, Unit 6. Also objected to the request. Noted a lack of buffer between the homes and the subject site. As I noted, there's 8 foot wide. That tree line will not be touched. and they're about 265 feet away from the nearest solar array. Also received over the weekend email from George, and I want to try and pronounce his last name, Honiotes, 1518 Grand Drive, Unit 6. He noted he will not be able to make the meeting, but wanted to note his objection to the data center. He realized the need, data centers are increasing, but he noted studies note the health ramifications, residents living nearby, but noise and light pollution, air pollution, diesel generated, and excess water demand causing shortages. Again, and I did have a short response back. A copy was provided to the commission. The existing tree line will be maintained, and water will not be used to cool the data center buildings. Also, email from Marissa Glover, 1481 Cambria Drive, Unit 2. Noted objection to the data center, noted pollution, increased energy costs, community, decreased property values, and depletion of the water resources, and removing the farmland. And then a couple mailings today, just noting they do not support the proposal. Betty Bellows, 1438 Cambria Drive, and Clint Dutzel, Dezutel, 1484 Cambria Drive, Unit 3, notes no support for the proposals. So that's the public comment. I have a sample motion prepared that approves the rezoning upon annexation, approves the preliminary final development plan. There was a concept plan reviewed. They're asking for a preliminary and final development plan, which you see here and is in your packet. And also subject to the plan development standards, Exhibit B, which pretty much allows a permitted, or allows a use as a permitted use, refers back to the PDI standards in the UDO for all the other regulations, and also required a detailed planning and maintenance plan for the native vegetation be submitted, reviewed by city staff prior to any construction on the site, and the plan should address soil stabilization and prevention and spread of weeds, just to make sure that's in place before they start construction.
Okay, thank you, Dan. We do have one speaker request form. David Volkening. No. If you want to step forward and just state your name and address, please. Yes, please.
Okay. Obligatory mic check, just to make sure this thing's on. Excellent. Okay. My name is David Volkening. I'm 1476 Cambria Drive, Unit 1. That's actually my residence in those pictures there. Am I allowed to ask a quick question before I start, too?
Sure.
What is the purpose of the data center? Is this an AI data center? What type of...
Peyton, you want to get up in the microphone and
Yeah.
respond?
Yeah. Just what is the data center? Is this like a Meta, Google, VO?
It's not anything associated with any of those big names.
Okay.
And that is more over my head and my pay grade of those questions. I handle more of the permitting side.
Gotcha.
So as to the data center, it's hosting the computer network and data mining.
Okay, so I'm actually a software engineer, so computer networks, all those things are fun things for me to talk about, and I could actually talk about that a lot more than anything else I could probably talk about, but from my understanding, you're talking about data mining involving like cryptocurrency, is that correct? Okay, cool. That's all I need to ask about. I'm ready to begin, if you guys would like.
Sure.
Just also noting, I am a software engineer, not a public speaker, so this is terrifying for me. Hi, my name is David Volkening. I'm 1476 Cambria Drive, Unit 1. Once again, that's my photos in my house. I do not support this data center in my community. We could talk about the impact on electricity bills and the environment, and I'm sure Donato Solar has wonderful crafted answers for those questions. Growing up in America, you're told to work hard, save money, and buy a house. For the average American, the purchase of the house is the most significant purchase of their entire lives. I believe this data center will negatively impact the property value of the most important purchase of every single member of the community. No one wants to buy a house with a data center next to it, just like no one wants to buy a house with a nuclear power plant next to it, no matter how safe or boutique you make it. This project will generate wealth by farming cryptocurrency and Bitcoin for Donato Solar at the financial cost of every member of this community. On this principle alone, I cannot support this project. What we have today is the case of one corporation against the community, And there's one decision that will be made today that will show everyone the values of our local government. Will you protect this community from this corporation? That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Is there anyone else? If not, I'll close the public hearing and open it up to comments. Oh, I'm sorry. Again, if you would state your name and address, please.
Yeah, my name is Ben Thomas, 1508 Cambria Drive, Unit 6. And my question would be, can you guarantee that property value will not decrease? Can anyone guarantee that?
I don't think we've ever guaranteed something, but there's no evidence supporting that the property values will go down. The other solar farms in the city have not driven down adjacent property values. In fact, the one I mentioned on Gurler Road, there was a multi-million-dollar truck sales operation that was built right next to it. So
Right, but not homes, right?
there's homes next to Pleasant Street Solar Farm, and there's been no known effect on property values there. I don't know if Peyton wants to follow up with. At the mic, please.
Yeah, that would be my only question.
Okay, thank you.
The only thing I can attest to that is if someone comes to look at your property, they may not even know that a solar farm or a data center is present on the other side, considering they may not be able to view it from where your property is located, considering that tree line doesn't make it visible from where you're saying you're located on Cambria. There's also a giant trucking company located right next to that, right there. And there's also a substation located just south of that. So, I mean, you're in a very high industrial area to begin with, so I can attest to that, as people may not want to live next to those anyways. So that's all I have to speak on that.
Okay, thank you. Again, if there's, would you like to say something, ma'am? Again, if you would step forward and state your name and address.
Dawn Gavin, 1480 Cambria, Unit 6. If this is approved, when would the project start? Like what timeline are we looking at? If everything is approved by the city and...
That is a great question, something I should have mentioned, ma'am. Because we are on such a tight timeline with things changing with our president and things like that, and USDA funding, we would probably look at construction starting in '26, nothing of this year.
Okay, again, anyone else? No? If not, I'll close the public hearing and open it up to comments and questions from the commission.
So, it's it's truly a complex issue. The first one is, I know there's farming there right now, but it's surrounded by industrial. In all likelihood, no matter what goes there, at some point, it's going to be industrial. And is it better for it to be a solar and data center farm? Not is it better. Does it have more of an impact on the residential neighborhoods if it's a data center than it would if it's a trucking company or if it's an oil company? I think if we look at the image, you can see it's the time is going to come when it's going to be industrial. And I'm trying to come to grips with whether I feel it's best to try to permit something that's there that will have a relatively minimal impact to the residents behind it versus something that could be much, much more impactful on them. My biggest concern is if it is allowed, two concerns. One, what will you do? And I know that, the trees will be maintained, the property will be maintained, the difference, that where it abuts will be maintained in a manner that doesn't have a significantly impact on the residences versus, something that could. So That's where I'm trying to grip with. My second question, or my second concern is, truly, in and of itself, what's the benefit to the city? What's the benefit to the residences? You know, is it bringing in significant tax for the city that can be distributed back, you know, to better enhance programs within the city? Or is it simply something that's going to sit there and mine data and pay essentially property taxes based on an industrial site? And maybe you can answer that, Dan.
Yeah, I think overall the benefit is the additional property taxes. It's not in the city now. We call for industrial there. There is a lot of other future industrial area that's in our boundary area, particularly on the other side of Peace Road that could come in the future. The two data center buildings are kind of unique. Our other solar fields don't have data centers on, although they're small. They add to the property value of the site, definitely, plus the solar array. So, you know, these are type of uses where it could be returned back to, probably wouldn't be agricultural, but back to maybe a different clean industrial type use also into the future. But all the development you see pretty much in terms of large is down more towards the tollway and Peace Road in that area. And there's still vacant area down there.
Is it okay for me to just ask for a show of hands from the folks
Sure.
out there?
Yeah, or the chair
Is that
will
all right with you all? So I'm assuming that most of you are residences behind there, is that correct? Knowing, looking at that, and understanding that in the next, if not now, in the next 5 to 10 years, it's probably going to be industrial. My question to you is, because you obviously, you care enough to be here, would you rather have a data center that you know is, I would assume, less impactful, or would you rather be dealing with an unknown industrial center? Can I ask for just, can I poll you? If you would prefer something like a data center, would you mind raising your hands? If you would prefer an industrial site? Okay, thank you. I really appreciate your input.
Yeah, the hiccup for me for this is mostly the data center part. The idea of just having a solar farm there doesn't seem like a bad fit. It's the limited experience I have being around a solar array like that. They're relatively quiet. Theoretically, they could benefit all of us, depending on how the energy is transferred and sent back to the grid. It's the data center is the one that kind of gives me the icks on
Well,
this.
and I'm just curious as to why. There's something about it that doesn't sit immediately as easily as saying solar farm with me too, but I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah,
And to your point, you know, unfortunately, we're not here to judge how this is used. It is simply a processing plant.
Yeah, and so I think for me, because of all of the unknowns related to that,
Such as?
well, how much energy is going to be used by this? Like, the idea of having a data center on a solar farm in and of itself isn't bad, especially if the solar farm was powering the data center, that, you know, it would be.
That's the point.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and to that end, is this self-sufficient then?
Yes, that's the point of behind the meter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is all powering the data
data.
center, the solar field, that's the accessory.
And it's not,
Yeah.
and it's not
Okay.
water cooled, which is,
So there's, I mean, that's
Very
a
effective.
positive. It's just kind of that amorphous ick.
Can I ask you a question?
We need you at the mic. Any questions?
Yeah, can you step up to the podium, please?
So depending how big the batteries are, what if there's a period of not sufficient sunlight and there's not enough energy in the batteries and the capacity runs low? How does the plant continue to operate at that point?
You can answer Peyton at the mic. We need you on
We would have to be like in several days of not sunlight, not have a working facility. Or we would have to just totally be offline. Something would have to happen to our solar facility. But just because of a lack of sunlight, that would not do it to not power the data center itself. So
I
it's
guess
a-
said differently, what he may be asking is this going to be hardlined into the electrical grid at some point in case it does go down?
So all of the excess energy that does not get used into the data center goes back to the grid. So that's that internet, or that interconnection agreement that we have with Ameren. So yes, we will be into their overhead lines, yep. And it will go back to the grid, yep. So it will always be powered somehow.
Any other questions?
You said that you're adjacent right now to a neighborhood in Champaign similar to this one. As far as you know, because the question was asked, is that negatively impacting those homes as far as you know? Because I know you don't know a whole lot, but that is a huge concern for these people here.
I have gone to a lot of these, and it's quite, the show up is generally like this. And I don't blame the residents at all. But I will say, when it is put in the ground and it's up and running, most residents forget that it even exists. And I will say with this location, with that tree line being there, I would almost guarantee I would forget that it exists. Just because of the distance also from the residents, that noise will be, it would be even hard to maybe even hear it if totally not being able to hear it. The residents, we have a project going on in Shiloh, Illinois right now. There is a man who lives dead smack in the center of the project, basically, and he was going to, he is so thrilled about the project, he is offered to mow the project for us. Because it's similar like this, it's in a high industrial area, and he would rather see something low industrial and not generate a lot of traffic come and be next to his property rather than, a large industrious trucking company. So that's generally what we've got back from residents, that once this is put up, it's quiet, it doesn't generate any traffic from our maintenance crew after construction, so it's a relatively quiet project. And with the fence up and any vegetative buffers, we like to put those along the residential line. Those trees just haven't been established long enough to grow properly in height, but in properties or in areas where we have those residents close by, we put arborvitaes up just for an added benefit to them. So we would also be willing to do that here if necessary, anywhere else. So that's something we offer. But no, we've had no after the fact comments from residents, no negative feedback wherever we're located in Champaign County with those properties nearby.
Okay, that their values are decreasing. I
Right,
guess is-
no,
okay.
no.
Okay.
Can you stay there?
Yes, yes.
See you going back and forth, you're getting your steps in.
Yeah, need to, it's a long drive.
I thought this would be a rubber stamp, but, hearing from all the residents and
Right.
seeing all the comments that were submitted. Let me just ask you the major things that they're asking about. So, noise pollution, limited.
Correct, and we did submit a comparable noise analysis that showed that it had no noise impact on the surrounding residential properties. It was a 4-megawatt solar array. The residents actually lived a little bit closer to this solar array. There was not this tree line, that vegetative large buffer like this here, and the noise pollution was non-existent there.
And that tree buffer is 8 feet wide?
80.
80 feet wide?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Light and air pollution.
Light, I did forget to mention, lighting on site will be dark sky compliant. So that's just something that we install everywhere. So that is no light pollution. It's downcast, so nothing is upcast, nothing is on 24/7. Air pollution, I do not know of any air pollution generated from the solar array itself, or from the battery systems, or from the data center themselves.
Peyton, one of these comments
Sorry.
specifically asked
Bill, let
about
him finish,
diesel.
man. Let him finish.
All right, sorry.
The water, any effect on the water supply?
No, and because we will only have a restroom in the data center, which would be used very minimally by, 1 to 2 people on site, maybe 1 to 2 times a week, very minimal water demand on site. And the data center themselves are air-cooled, not water-cooled, so there will be no additional water demand on site either.
Okay. And any long-term degradation to soil that you know of?
No, and actually, these can be pulled out very easily, and just pull them out and we restore the ground to farmland after, so, which we've not had to do, but I've seen the poles be pulled out and that's all it is, so.
All right, thank you.
One of these comments specifically asked about noise and pollution from diesel generators. Are there any plans for diesel generators to be on this site?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. Then you mentioned the site reclamation plan. Ended the project life. What is it? How many years is that?
We usually do 25 to 30 years, just because that's the life, or that's the warranty of the solar panels themselves.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, this is just a really tough one, because I think the thing that I'm struggling with really is this going to affect the neighbors less and the community less than something else? And yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Someone else was there.
could you come forward? Again, please just state your name and address.
Danae Honeyotis, that was my husband George that sent you the email. I have a lot of questions. Why farmland? Why don't you put these solar panels on top of the building? I've always wondered that.
Just because we are not a roof solar company. We're ground mount, so that's what we do. And unfortunately, farm ground has the most stable soil. So, and I can't speak to why this location was chose specifically, just because I'm not involved in that process. I assume location with the substation has something to do with it, but roof solar is just not something we do.
Okay. We did some research over the weekend, and we couldn't find any long-term studies on how it affects the health of the people that live close to these. We also read that, and that's a question, I mean, we have to think about that. I know with the wind turbines, people that live close to them were told that they're not going to hear anything, it's going to be fine, but then in the end, it ended up that a lot of those people are affected neurologically by living by those wind turbines. So that is my main concern, is the health of our families. And also, I'd like to know, so you're going to use that solar, and then the extra goes where? To another state? To DeKalb? Is DeKalb itself going to benefit from that solar power?
any excess energy that.
It comes back to
It
this
goes back to the
community.
grid, yes.
Okay,
It'll go
because
back to
I've
the grid.
also heard that a lot of these solar farms, which I have a really hard time calling it a farm, that they send that energy to other states, that DeKalb does not benefit in any way from a lot of those solar. And I don't know about you guys, but when I drive through the country and I see these fields, these beautiful fields filled with metal, it hurts my heart. I grew up in DeKalb. I love DeKalb. And it's very, very hard to take a drive that you've enjoyed your entire life and see what we're doing to our community. And I want to know why.
If, again, if you'd like to say something, if you'd just step forward to the podium and state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Linda Jacobson. I'm at 1496 Cambria Drive, Unit 2, and I would agree with the woman previous to me about everything she said. I guess my initial concern, I live directly up to that, and as of last maybe 2 years, ComEd came through and cleared out a swath. And I'm wondering if that had anything to do with this. And I know that they're in charge of that easement property, so I think on that level we're safe. But I have lived in my unit for 21 plus years, and I would rather take chances of something else going in there than this particular proposed product or project. And all along Greenwood Acres Drive, same thing. No one's bought that property, mostly because it's undesirable. So this would be a perfect place to put something undesirable, except we have to live with it. And I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Oh, we do have one more person.
Ryan Yedinak. I live on 1477 Legacy Drive, Unit 3. It says this is a, whatever the amount of megawatt energy, how much do you guys know how much the data center will use of that energy that is like proposed to come in each day from the solar farm on like a good day? Because that'd be kind of like, I don't know, that'd be important to us so that we know like a significant amount of energy is actually coming back to DeKalb and benefiting us as residents.
Right, and I cannot speak to that answer just because I don't know how much energy the data center would use. And 2 data centers is better than 1 in this case. Typically, on some sites, we only have 1, and those do use most of the power. So 2, I would say, would generate most of the 4 megawatt. And that's just gonna fluctuate because of the solar. So I can't give you a total number. And I can't do that anyways, because that's above my pay grade, so.
And the, I'm sorry, one more thing. The noise analysis you did, was that same size solar farm? Did it also have 2 data centers?
That one had 1 data center, but the data center was actually placed in the middle at that solar field, so it was actually closer to the residential property, but it was the same size.
What was the decimal range?
Sorry?
What was the decimal range?
I don't know that off the top of my head, it's the solar, or the noise analysis.
Just, yeah, these data center, it's 6,000 square feet. Meta is 800,000 square foot, 5 buildings, and you drive out there, you can't.
You hear a thing, yeah.
So these are pretty small data centers.
Okay. Yeah, again, without any other, I don't have any other questions. With that, I guess I will ask for a motion to approve.
Regardless of the vote, I think everything deserves to have a vote, so I'll put the motion forward.
So moved by Becker. May I have a second?
The motion, why don't you read the motion?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Based upon the submitted petitions and testimony presented, I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission forward its findings of fact and recommend to the City Council approval of the rezoning upon annexation from the SFR 1, Single Family Residential District, to PDI 1, PDI, Plan Development Industrial District for the subject property located along the west side of Peace Road between Greenwood Acres Drive and Challenger Drive per the preliminary final development plan prepared by MSA dated 8/26/25, listed as Exhibit A and subject to the plan development standards listed in Exhibit B.
So moved by Becker. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Wright. May I have a roll call, please?
Becker,
No.
O'Flaherty,
No.
Pena Graham,
No.
Wright,
No.
McMahon,
No.
Chair Maxwell.
No.
I would recommend with that motion that you forward some reasoning or findings that are different from this to the council so they are aware of how the commission voted.
Sure.
I think what moved me was just the preponderance of the neighborhood not wanting it. Is if it was more clearly defined as to, I just think there were too many issues, and if the neighborhood that is the most adjacent doesn't want it, then
Yeah, no, I
it's the wrong
mean,
parcel.
all these people showed up here because they didn't.
Yes.
To me, again, if it were me, I would hate to find out in 2 years that there's a, 24-hour truck station with the Catskills going in there, which, who knows? But to me, this seemed like a very quiet, easy way to just let the property sit with the tree line, but I understand what you people say.
I also might want to suggest to the company that maybe you reach out to the residents and have a conversation with them about, how it wouldn't impact them, how it may be better for them in the long run. And if you can find some agreement with them, I'm assuming there's nothing to keep them from coming back to us at some point. But I think at this point, because, this is one of the larger groups of residents that we've had come forward.
Oh, easily.
So I think if these are people who are willing to put their name or their faces and their opinion out there, that is probably shared by other residences in the area. And so I think, if I come from business, I know anytime we did something that would impact the neighborhood, we did a blitz to try to talk with them and find out what would keep them happy. And I don't know, maybe you find a better location. Certainly, I hate that you're not, finding DeKalb suitable. And I'm really concerned for you folks for the possibility of something worse maybe coming in. But for right now, maybe a little more due diligence would help you.
I think for me, what is happening here is they don't know the long-term effects of what's happening. They don't care if there's a trucking company, that's not gonna cause poison into the ground or wherever it might be coming, these rays that are emitting and could possibly get brain cancer or something. I think that's what the issue is. And I don't know if you can do any long-term data on that or, yeah. Yeah. I know, but it's the unknown, I think that's scaring everybody.
Solar farm's fine, the data center is not.
If you could step forward again, please. Thank you.
So again, Dawn Gavin, 1480 Cambria, Unit 6. So Donato's owns that
Correct.
land, so they can't develop it because it's not zoned for,
Right.
it's residential, I guess, according to the
It's
letter.
not annexed into the city.
Okay,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
So but it's their property, and they'd have to sell it maybe to someone else who wants to do something else, like your trucking company,
And
or
they would
they'd
have to come in
figure out,
and do the same
this
thing
all over
like
again.
what's going on now. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I've spoken with several residents on this topic myself, as I found out over the course of the last few weeks. I work with AI, I work in software. I understand there's an urgent need for data centers. I also understand that we're going to need more power as we're growing and developing into an AI nation. I don't approve of there being a data center behind my house. I'm certain that there's other wonderful places to put that. But we're not opposed to a solar farm. A solar farm itself, that sounds great. I'm all about saving the environment. They've talked about wonderful things about reclaiming the land. My parents had a prairie farm where they rejuvenated the land, and I saw what that did for the environment. But putting a data center, that this isn't AI life-saving, hey, this is an AI that's going to develop cancer like my buddy at the University of Indiana does. This is a Bitcoin mining center where they're going to be using the public funds for green energy to fund their project, to fund their piggy bank. And that is a principle that I cannot stand behind, no matter how pretty you wrap it up. And I've talked to other residences, we're fine with a solar farm. If you want to generate wealth through selling the energy back to people, that's fine, that's clean. But putting a data center on it that's just going to make noise, make potentially air pollution, you've got thousands of computers in there that are transferring data back and forth at lightning speed, generating heat and other adverse effects to the environment to make money. Its sole purpose is to make money, and that's the part we can't stand for. Thank you.
Linda Jacobson, 1496 Cambria Drive, Unit 2. One thing I forgot to mention previously is that when ComEd came through and cut that swath, it almost decimated the animal life population that's in that area. There used to be hundreds, if not more, birds that would wake you up at about 4:30 or 5 in the morning. You can no longer hear them. They're just not there. And there are deer that come into the neighborhood, other wildlife. It's a shame to see something like this coming in. And as I said, it's an undesirable area for residential or anything like that. But as I said also, I'd rather take my chances. It's sat vacant for 21 years. It's used as farmland, just like the other property along Greenwood Acres Drive. And I'm sure that most everyone that I've talked to feels the same way I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. No other discussion on the subject?
This will be going to the city council next Monday, the 8th. There's a hearing and then action by the council, and they'll get the recommendation from the commission.
Is that public?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Where's that located?
right here. Next Monday night, yes.
Monday?
Yes, 6 p.m. Yep.
6 p.m.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to know.
Agenda will be posted Thursday.
Same stage, different band.
Yeah, they recognize it while we didn't.
It's a recommending body. Yeah.
We're recommending
Council,
it.
yeah.
The city council has the final approval or denial, so
come
if you
back
feel
next
this
week.
strongly, you may want to.
Be here next week.
Oh, thank you.
So staff report for,
Yes, next
Next meeting.
meeting, 15th September, we have one hearing, 129 Window Place, a fence variance.
Back to the easiest stuff.
Yeah, of the corner lot.
Another fence.
Groundbreaking last week, a week from today, actually, a new hotel, 902 Peace Road,
Finally.
which the
Yeah,
commission
it's
reviewed, of
nice.
course. That will be starting construction soon. They'll be open in spring of 2027. Marriott brand, yeah.
Cool. Across the street from this, it would have gone.
That's all. Thank you.
if that's it, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second.
Seconded by O'Flaherty. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you very much.